Commissioner Infantini?
Yes, 3B2 is discussing the write-off of accounts that are not going to be able to be collected by the emergency medical services. The amount of $5.7 million is going to be written off. I don't have a problem with writing it off. What I have a problem with is we are going to be, this board has approved an economic development zone which is going to be keeping tax dollars from going into the general fund. The emergency medical service is funded by the general fund. And if we are going to be taking tax dollars or preventing tax dollars from coming into the general fund, where are those dollars going to come from? I'm concerned that once again we've raised property, not myself personally, but this board has raised property tax rates 2 years in a row to the tune of 30%, and where are those tax dollars going to come from? So I just wanted to bring that out. I wanted to highlight it today, because I am trying to get awareness out there that tax dollars will not be going into the general fund from a specific area, yet we have needs, and we are not currently cutting spending to meet those needs without, and instead all we're doing is raising property tax rates on people that are already struggling. And that's my commentary. Other than that, I'm for the item. I'll make the motion.
Okay. We have a live Commissioner Fisher.
Yes, sir. Keep hearing this rhetoric. You know, we've got 19 CRAs, and those 19 CRAs, $4 million of that is distributed throughout this county, and most of that, well, less than 1% of it goes in the North Brevard district, in North Brevard. That's been going on for several years. As we continue to have economic development in our community, whether it's the tax abatement we just gave Harris, whether it's the $1.8 million we give the Embraer, if Commissioner Infantini's philosophy is correct, then I guess that North Brevard has been subsidizing the South Brevard for a long time. And so I don't believe that's to be the case. I think that we're one county. The economic zone was passed by a majority of this board. I think it was passed for good reasons. Just like I think the other 19 CRAs that was passed in this community was passed for good reason when they were passed. And so I'm kind of getting frustrated with listening to her fuss about North Brevard getting something. Currently, right now, there isn't, those tax dollars aren't there. You've got to have new construction and new growth for it to happen. And then the only thing you're doing is allowing the area that you're collecting it in, allowing the money to be spent back in, just like the other 19 CRAs have done historically throughout this county. And if you want to add the millions up for the last 30 years and she wants to go through that exercise, she can. But I'm tired of her not supporting the North Brevard and the other areas outside of her community. If you don't look like her and you aren't live in Melbourne Beach, then she doesn't support you, and I think that's unfair.
Commissioner Infantini?
Well, actually, you don't have to look like me, because most of the residents of all of Brevard County don't look like me, fortunately for you all. But what I'm looking at is the entire county, and I don't know where Commissioner Fisher draws the north-south line. If it's at the end of District 1, he may be fair that he hasn't been receiving his distributive share of CRA funding. However, the north line does not stop at District 1. At least District 2 has received a disproportionate share of the funding for CRAs. I am for the abolishment of the CRA funding. At this point, Governor Jerry Brown in California is trying to abolish all of their CRAs because it is running the state into the ground. And he sees that it's filtering off too much money at some point that you can't fund your critical services. So if we continue on this path of CRA funding or economic zone funding, whatever you want to call it, we will not have enough money to fund all of the crucial services needed to operate Brevard Brevard County. Yet those same resources will be needed by all the residents and all the businesses in all of Brevard County. It's not a District 3 issue. It's a county-wide issue, and all of us will be paying more in taxes. If it's good for District 1, let's spread it and make it good and apply to the entire county. If you want to call the entire county an economic zone, then do it and support everybody. But you can't keep picking and choosing different areas of Brevard County that receive CRA money. And businesses. These are appointed individuals. They're not elected. We don't have the right, you voters don't have the right to eliminate them. And I'm opposed to them in general.
Commissioner Fisher, let me, if I may, first of all, I'd like to say that we have a variety of mechanisms available to us to try to improve the economy of Brevard County, and I think that to try to get rid of them for the purposes that you've described are just it's ludicrous. First of all, I would appreciate if you would stop campaigning from the podium and start governing, because that's all this is. And additionally, you've sent out emails that I'm going to be responding to with the correct information. For instance, you said on the economic zone for North Brevard that there was no plan. I think it would have been more sincere to say that a plan will be coming back to the Board of County Commissioners and the City of Titusville for approval, but you didn't say that. You just said there is no plan. That's just disingenuous. That's in effect lying to our citizens, and I really am offended by that. You made up numbers that don't exist by saying that it's a $150 million impact. There's a whole line of things that are just inaccurate. So, Commissioner, I really am offended by what you have undertaken, and if this board needs to address those issues as it goes through, we will do that. As it relates to the different CRAs, I'd like to point out that Palm Bay CRA is a non-elected body, and I have not heard you go to the City of Palm Bay and to say to that City Council, you need to change it. You have not gone to them, and that's in your district. So it's amazing to me that you can separate out the communities. But a friend of mine lost his job at the Space Center. He used to drive north up to Titusville. Now he works for Harris. He drives south into Palm Bay. So to try to say that one part of our county benefits greater or more or less than other parts of the county is crazy. There are scat vans, pools that move from Palm Bay up to the Space Center. This is a county. Either we govern it as a county or let's divide it off, because it's just crazy for us to think that we shouldn't be helping all parts of our county. And we have done a good job in South County with commitments to Harris, to Embraer, to AAR, to a whole variety of businesses in South County. And for you to say that North County shouldn't have any access to that, it's just unfair. So, Commissioner Fisher.
Yeah, I would like to direct staff, if we could, if the majority of the board agrees this, to put out a white paper in response to the misinformation that Commissioner Infantini is continuing to spout out in the community. Is that, I don't know if I need a motion to do that or get, but I think we need to respond to it because it's just a bunch of untruths.
Well, I'm certainly in favor. I've talked to the county manager about having staff address each of those and do a fact check on all the information that's been out in those emails. And then individually, I think we can, as commissioners, respond to the constituents. I also would like a list of all that it's gone to, because right now all you can see is that it's from Commissioner Infantini to Commissioner Infantini, and that would seem to be an attempt to hide the email addresses. And in the sunshine, I don't know how you do that, but I would think that you would want to have a list of everyone who's received it made available to the public, because if you're going to correct information, you need to know who it went to.
The mechanism for receiving the information and the recipients is through a public records request, and anybody's available to ask for that, and they certainly can receive that from our IT department. That way it prevents me from accidentally leaving somebody off of the list. So I encourage you to do so. As far as campaigning from the podium, I was elected to represent all of Brevard County. I'm elected by just District 3, but it was to do so to look out for the fiscal responsibility and accountability and transparency of all of Brevard County taxpayers, and that is what I'm doing. As far as the misinformation, I do not have a plan. I haven't seen a plan, and as soon as there is one, great, I'll acknowledge it. So far, there is no plan that has been presented to us. So that's not an untrue statement. There is no plan, not one that's been presented to me. Now, you present one to me, I'll say, here's the plan. Number two, we have continually gone to the county manager's office and the budget director's office asking them for the fiscal impact to all of Brevard County. They said they weren't able to do a projection. So what I did was I took the 5-year amount of basically $5 million that would be accumulated, and then I multiplied it by the next 25 years. So $5 million plus for the first year, in the first 5 years, and then for the next 25 years. And that's basically how I got to $150 million, plus a little extra growth that we haven't considered. Because if Commissioner Fisher is successful in getting the Merritt City Mall out of the Titusville CRA and moving it into the economic zone CRA or economic zone, then that would increase that tax base again. So it was a very modest number of how I came up with the $150 million. And if I've made any errors in that, if the people are going to be elected and not appointed, please tell me. If the people are not going to be permitted to issue bonds, please tell me. But again, I've seen no plan, and so far, this board, 3 of the board members, or 4 board members actually, have approved the appointments to the board. So I didn't see any misinformation, but if I promise to stand corrected if I've made any inaccurate statements.
I'm looking forward to that one. Commissioner Anderson.
I'm going to say something that I wanted to say. My New Year's resolution was to reset my BS meter, and I've lowered it way down. So this goes to everybody on this board, including myself. I am embarrassed that we have these personal attacks upon each other, and I don't care who generated it or who's ending it, but it continues to go on and on and on and on. And it is very embarrassing to go into public and people laugh at this commission. And it's embarrassing to know that I have to go out, and when I'm talking to economic development coordinators or people that could assist this community, I'm afraid they're going to go back and look at one of our films. Look, here's the deal. You can worry about what other commissioners are doing, and this is for everybody, including myself. I don't. My New Year's thing is to be effective, and I have. I'm working on transportation things. I'm getting roads done. I'm going to be an effective commissioner. Now, if you want to whine and cry about different issues on all sides, that's your choice. But I'm not going to be a party to it any longer, and I'm going to call out the BS when I see it on all sides. Take care of your district. Take care of the county residents as a whole when we come to the county-wide things, and leave this stuff alone. Let's start the new year off right. I am totally done with it, and I'm going to be a lot more aggressive with every board member up here when I see these personal attacks continue. So hopefully it ends today. Otherwise, I'm going to be the referee for the rest of the year. So that's all I have to say.
Commissioner Boland.
I'm glad that you had stated that, and I agree 100%. I also am going to make sure that this doesn't continue to happen. And this is case in point. What we're dealing right now is the agenda. The item on the agenda is approval of the write-off of uncollectible. Now, where did that topic get into the discussion of the CRA? You're using anything on this agenda to promote your own agenda personally, and I want that to stop. Let's discuss the business at hand.
Well, actually, the reason why it led into the economic zone is because it's showing where funding is not going to be there, where money that we would expect to collect, this $5.7 million, will not be collected for whatever reason. And where are we going to get those funds? The past 2 years, the place that we got
Commissioner
those funds
Bettini, that's a personal opinion.
Was to raise
so
property
it has nothing
taxes.
to do with the agenda item.
So if you're going to raise property taxes, then I just want you to tell everybody we're going to raise your tax rate again next year.
Yes, we know that you're running for re-election.
Yes, I am, Mary, but that has nothing to do with it. Well, you know what? You're not going to do that. She interrupted me. I didn't interrupt not one of you.
Point of order, call the question on the agenda item under the rules of this and policies of this board.
You don't have one rule for one commissioner and another one for another commissioner.
I make a motion we approve item 3.2.
There's a motion by Commissioner Fisher, second by Commissioner Anderson to approve the item. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes unanimously.